All right, guys, being the unemployed person I am, I saw this story. It's like super old, but this kid won the lottery in like 2002, and then he said he was the king of whatever that place is. Him doing his own thing, I guess. And then he lost all the money in a year, bro. It's 12 million bucks. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, come on, man. Anyways, Baker, don't come like him. Anyway, though, yeah, Tampa Bay Bucs roster grades. Yeah, we got to hit the rest of the NFC South here. And with that, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Final NFL. Please like and subscribe if you guys enjoy the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 4 straight NFC South champion. Yeah, Buccaneers here today. Again, if you have not watched past roster grade videos, I do, unless you just want to skip the end to see what the actual grade is. I mean, you're more than welcome to do that. But if you have not seen past roster grades and you're gonna go through this entire thing, you'll be very confused. Go to the Aura Front, which is the Tennessee Titans roster grades. It's in the 2025 NFL roster grade playlist. That'll give you all the explanation, mostly, that you need to understand this. Also, guys, for the points, so yeah, 234 points is average. It's just kind of like a guideline. So if that's like what a C would be, if you want like some sort of range there. There's actual ranges we'll use for sure. That's kind of the gist of this. Anyway, though, getting to the Bucs quarterback situation. If you did not watch the offseason tour for the Bucs, which came out yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, Baker Mayfield, again, I basically just clumped every single play that kind of amassed his personality and how he plays quarterback. Is that the greatest way to play quarterback? I'm not saying anything. I mean, you saw what Brett Favre turned into. But Baker Mayfield, he really set a culture here when he pulled up in 2023. And again, this is a team. Yeah, again, I get they technically in the playoffs in 2022. But they were not a good team that year. Again, they weren't really great 2 years ago, even though they won a playoff game and didn't win one last year. But last year, their offense was really, really, really freaking good. Yeah, their defense wasn't great. They had some issues. Again, they might not win they'll win the division this year, guys. Maybe not. Who knows? But yes, Baker throwing for 4,500 yards, third in football, by far the best year of his career. It was a huge breakout season. 41 touchdowns, was tied for second in the league. Yeah, he threw 16 picks and like 30 turnover plays, which are downsides of him. And yeah, he's not the most physically talented quarterback, but guys, this guy just freaking doesn't care. He's going to throw the ball where he sees it. His progressions have gotten so much better since he came out. And yeah, he doesn't care. He's going to be a gunslinger. And is that really his entire game? Not really, but it's how he portrays himself, and it really works out. Again, he has really good weapons, though. That is something to note. But yeah, Baker he's really freaking good. Kyle Trask, he is not a guy. Again, there were times, again, we look back at 2023 where he actually could have started because him and Baker were in a battle. That didn't really work out for him. So we'll say anyway. I mean, he's a very not physically imposing quarterback, but he's a little bigger and a little bit more prototypical than Baker. Michael Pratt. This is the guy from the Tulane, right? He never really wowed me at all. I mean, the Packers obviously didn't like him, so yeah, that's what went on with him. But yeah, he was one of the more sneaky quarterbacks in the draft a couple years ago. Connor Bazelak, I'm going to be honest, probably never heard of this guy. We'll see if this if this gets a little less geeked. Yeah, Connor Bazelak, yeah, interesting dude. Anyway, though, yeah, I'm gonna give a B+ for Baker. You could say a B for Baker. I don't think so though. He really proved himself last year. But even then, like, is he really gonna put up those numbers next year? Hopefully, maybe a little less turnover numbers. But yeah, he really transformed this offense. Like, you could argue he was just as good as Tom Brady was. No, he wasn't as good as Tom Brady was in 2021, but who knows? 45 points. I mean, Baker deserves this. You could even put an A tier if you really felt like it. Again, he was that good last year. That's all I got for him. Let's get into all his weapons, and there's a lot of good ones. Baker's skill position group, it starts out with Bucky Irving, who, holy crap, had a massive rookie season. No one was expecting to come out and run for 1,100 yards. I mean, I thought he was a decent guy coming out. I wasn't the biggest fan of him. And again, he obviously proved me wrong pretty much. Not really proved me wrong. He just came out and just did crazy. He's a really good, just decisive back in terms of just his like overall makeup and how he gets downhill. But I think the biggest thing with him is the fact that he just simply doesn't really miss the hole much. And again, he really, again, is very decisive as well. Outside that, though, pretty above average rate of breaking tackles. Again, also with an offensive line in the interior that really wasn't the greatest overall last season. They were okay, but they weren't great. He did a really good job at kind of like elevating their maybe performance at times that you might have actually thought. It's kind of weird, but it works. And yeah, Bucky Irving, again, fantastic rookie season. We'll see if he can build off that season. Rachaad White, I actually was somewhat decent on what he was in 2023. He should not have gotten 300, what was it, 400 something. He got like nearly 250 touches in 2023. That was a little bit too much. Part of the reason he had diminished production. But again, on like less than 200 after 350 in 2023, he had a much more efficient season, which people are kind of underlining like, oh, he sucked. Yeah, he wasn't great. But he was much better than a lot of people will give him credit for. As a receiver, I still think he's a better guy than Bucky Irving overall, just because he's more sure-handed and he's a little bit more versatile as a route runner. Yeah, as an actual runner, he's much worse. I mean, there's no way around that. I think that they're like straight line speed isn't like completely different. Yeah, Bucky's definitely a much faster guy overall, but I think it's a little bit like because of how like quick Bucky is. Rashad, he does have decent straightaway speed at times. Again, 0.7 plus yard per carry this season is massive, but at the same time, he's obviously not as good as Bucky Irving. Like, I mean, really solid backup in my opinion. Actually, like I think I'm definitely higher than a lot of other people, but like nowhere close to as good as Bucky Irving. But again, he's a good backup. Sean Tucker, this is a guy that I think can get in the end zone for sure. He's got some potential with that. He's definitely a guy that again really runs very compact, which I like a lot. He's very like centered. But at the same time, that does kind of hurt him because he's not going to be a guy you can really like build off of too much. But he's a very good, solid pass protector. He's not going to make many mistakes, and you can get the ball to him. You're going to at least get like 2 or 3 yards, and like at the worst case. But again, he's not really a big play sort of guy. DJ Williams is not a guy that I really see playing in the NFL. To be completely honest with you, we'll see what he does this preseason because he's probably going to get a decent amount of carries. But he really didn't show me much at Arizona. I really think he's a true NFL back. But with that said, running back, I'm going to give a B+. That might seem like really high for some people. But guys, Bucky was legitimately probably a top 10 back last year at times. And even better than that in some cases. And they got decent depth overall as well. So I think a B+ is fair to say. That might be a little high for some people. Probably a little bit even high for me. But on film, guys, it showed. Bucky's just, again, he played like a top 10 back for most of last season. All right. Receiving position, probably the strongest part of this entire roster, if we're going to be completely honest here. Mike Evans is a true number one guy. He doesn't create the separation. He doesn't always have the strongest hands. Yeah, I get he barely got to 1,000 yards, but he keeps the streak alive. And he is one season away from breaking Jerry Rice. He's already, again, the leader in 1,000 yard season start career and all that. Again, if he can just take care of it by week 13 this time instead of having to wait until the final play of the regular season or just even the season, that would be huge. But again, I don't think, probably 2023 was his best year we saw since that, that massive 2018 season overall, if I'd say. Again, I'm not just like, oh, yards production, like really it was. Also, I think he's, again, a guy that maybe if he's a little bit more effective underneath, that could really help him in terms of, again, some of those, like, nuanced routes, because I think that did hurt the offense a little bit last year because he was running a lot of the same stuff, and it kind of, like, limited what they could do. But, again, he could definitely work on that this offseason. Again, he's, like, a 12-year vet, so I don't really see much of an issue for that. And, again, he's still the same big play guy, guys. Mike Evans freaking phenomenal. Again, I don't think he's, like, one of the best receivers in football, like, the tippity top, but he's pretty close. Chris Godwin, he's such a tough guy to talk about because he's always, like, just the injuries. Like, yeah, 2023 probably wasn't his best year. Again, I still think that 2022, most of that season, he really wasn't healthy. Again, probably better than 2023, but again, he tore his ACL. He's probably going on for probably a massive year in 2024. I hope he'll stay healthy, but guys, he's 29. Okay, so he's not that old, but still. I still think that 2021 is his best season of his career. But again, he kind of got back to that in 2023. We'll see what happens. He was definitely back in 2024. Maybe if he can be a little bit more of a red zone threat, and I think, again, like I said, if he can be a little bit more open to running a little bit of a different route tree, not that he already can, I just think that would really, again, kind of help transform this offense. Again, both of those guys are top of the tier on NFL wide receivers. Emeka Egbuka, yeah, probably not the greatest pick for them, but I don't think they really care. They needed a guy who could really be effective in the slot. He'll be the guy for them there. Great body control, not the best in the class, but definitely one of the best. And also has, again, just crazy, I wouldn't say crazy route tree, a little bit more limited than JSN, to be honest with you guys, but again, he's great. He's going to actually, I think he'll beat you deep a little bit more than JSN. Not trying to compare those guys, but again, it's kind of hard when you just watch him play every single day. But anyway, Emeka Egbuka, yeah, he should be a good slot at the very least. Jalen McMillan, he wasn't really that bad at all last year. I just wanted to see more from him. Yeah, he had 8 touchdowns, guys, but let's be honest, none of those were really, like, I mean, a couple of them were pretty impressive, but there were times, like, especially against the Cowboys, that just really, like, told me, I'm like, he's just not really there yet. I still think he's a guy who could definitely be a solid, like, as a depth piece, he's phenomenal for this team. There's no way around that. But I'm still wondering if he's really a guy that you can, like rely on. Because, again, more likely than not, one of these guys is going to get injured at some point. Mike Evans probably being the least likely. Nothing against Emeka Egbuka, but I don't know. I just have a bad feeling about that. But, yeah, Jalen McMillan, is he really a guy you can rely on? I don't really think that. So, yeah. But as a fourth option, great. And even though, like, if Emeka Egbuka wasn't on this team, it still would be pretty similar to what it already is. Sterling Shepard, yes. Is he kind of washed? Absolutely. But can he still make a play here and there? Absolutely. Again, he still put up some decent numbers last year, despite being, like, their fifth option. So, yeah. Sterling Shepard's a guy that I still think can play. Not great, but he can get out there and do it. Trey Palmer, he was just so bad last year. Kind of just like lost basically any sort of momentum he had coming into the season. But like I said, he's still a guy who can create decent separation. Not great. The metrics didn't love him last year, but they were definitely still respectable. And also, I think he's a guy, if he can really just kind of diversify not his route tree, but his like kind of like what he does at the top of his route, that could really help him get on the field a little bit more. Because, again, he should be better than Sterling Shepard at this point. Tez Johnson's a guy that maybe could make the lineup at some point, but let's be honest, probably not. He's just kind of too small and, again, isn't really that effective. He's more of a screen guy. But still, at the same time, like, he's super quick. His change of direction is probably better than, maybe not as good as Mika Buka, but very close to. Again, Chris Godwin maybe, 2019 could have rivaled those guys, but probably not the exact same nowadays. Ryan Smith, Miller, and Raheem Garrett, I don't even pronounce his name. Those guys, will see. It'd be interesting to happen to them. But it's still, I'd probably say, honestly, an A-plus receiving core, just because of the depth. You look at like a team like the Bengals, and you're like, yeah, why did they give him an A+? Well, they had two legitimate number one wide receivers. Is Chris Godwin really that? Probably. And the fact that you have all this depth, I really think does deserve. This could be like this is probably the deepest receiving core in the league, if I had to be honest with you guys. That's going to be 36 points, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah? Yeah, okay. And then we get in this tight end position. Cade Otton took a big step last year. Still wasn't completely there, because I still think 2023 might have been a little bit better of a blocker. But last season, definitely back yardage was definitely a lot more productive. Still not a very good route runner, but we'll see how that works out. He's a guy that I like a lot, but I would like to see him maybe put up a little bit better of a season to really like solidify himself. Payne Durham, yeah, not the greatest guy in the world, because simply put, he's kind of just slow. But I will say he's a really solid blocker, and they use him really well. So, credit to that. And then again, you got Cole Keith and Devin Culp, who we'll see what happens with them. Anyway, tight end, I'll give a B. Yeah. Cade Otton isn't the greatest, but he's still a pretty darn good tight end overall. And again, the depth could definitely be better, but 6'12", 16 points tight end. Yeah, O-line, and then, yeah, this is going to be a pretty high grade. All right, offensive line time. Again, I kind of said this last year. I'm not going to try to say the exact same thing, but they played, honestly, they definitely played a lot better than they did in 2023, to be honest with you. Tristan Wirfs is arguably the best tackle in football. I don't really know if he's exactly that, but he's pretty darn close. Yeah, he just, simply put, doesn't really miss blocks whatsoever. Again, I get as a run blocker, he's not like an elite guy overall, but he's so good as a pass blocker. And the fact that, again, like I said, he just doesn't miss blocks and sustains them at a rate that really only a guy like Lane Johnson, I'm going to say Jordan Mailata, really just Lane Johnson could rival, is kind of just, it's so rare to watch. Charlie Heck, he's a solid backup just because, again, you could really use him in a lot of ways. I wouldn't say he's a sixth blocker in a lot of ways, but again, like I said, he's very versatile. Luke Gedeke, really solid right tackle. Again, I think there was a little bit of a drop-off in his consistency that we saw in 2023 where he was really freaking good. But still, very reliable right tackle. Again, does he have an extension yet? How do I not know this? I think he does. He's got to get one at some point, right? Yeah. He's going to be, I wouldn't say he'll get a massive one, but he'll get a really good contract. Like, yeah, he's going to get something soon. They got to pay him. I don't know what's going on with that, but he's got to get paid. Ben, whoever this guy's name is, do not care, to be completely honest with you. Ben Bredesen, probably the worst offensive lineman overall in terms of talent on this group, but he's still a lot more consistent than Cody Mauch was last year. But still, Ben, the biggest problem with him is that he cannot maintain blocks against interior rushers who have very, very, very good swim moves. But outside of that, again, I think his hand placement's got a lot better, and he can do a pretty good job at kind of holding guys up. Suo Peta, decent backup just because, like I said, he's got some pretty good measurables, but how far is that actually going to take him when his technique is still pretty flawed? Graham Barton, I'm not as high as a lot of people are on him, but he is really freaking solid season, and again, that was just a phenomenal pick by them, let's be honest, because they don't have to worry about center for a long time. But yeah, I still think Jackson Powers-Johnson's better. I don't care what people say. Jake Majors, yeah, this is going to be a rough rookie season for him. That's all I'm going to say. The OTA film is not film. The clips have not looked great yet. I don't have that, like. Who would have that? Anyway, Jake Majors, UDFA out of Texas. He's got a lot of stuff to work on. Simply put, gotta get a little stronger. All right, Cody Mauch, pretty talented. Not like crazy talented, but he's a pretty talented guy. Very inconsistent last season. But he does have some, again, things going from raw strength, and simply put, he can move guys. Not just raw strength, but like he can like move guys in pass protection, which is good. Elijah Klein's a guy that I think could be okay. We'll see though. O-line depth is mixed, is a little bit mixed bag, but I'm gonna say they got a B here. They got three really good guys, two guards that are not the greatest. You could argue to B+. I'm gonna stick with a B though because I think there's a little bit more room to grow in terms of the run blocking. But that's gonna be a B. It's gonna be a really high score. 45, 27, 36, 16, 16. Yeah, we got 140 points, which isn't insane, but it's pretty freaking good. That's going to put them in the A- here, which is where they belong because they have a really good offense. The problem is, Baker isn't an elite quarterback. I think that's probably the only bad thing I can say. And maybe this O-line, again, this O-line can definitely get better. And, yeah, they don't have, like, a top-line tight end. But, guys, pretty darn good for the Bucs. Probably as good as they've had in a not really long time. Oh, wait, Tom Brady. Anyway, though, time for this defense, which is... We start with the front seven, as always. And this is a group, again, we'll start with the D-line that, again, has had their issues, big issues at times. But, again, they are a group that has pretty high ceiling as well. All right. Defensive line, we'll start with Logan Hall, who is not a guy that I'm too high on in terms just because of the fact that he's really never been an effective run defender. He doesn't really get into it, and also he doesn't get off blocks super well. But against his pass rusher, pretty sound, probably the best way to put it, because he has a really wide range of tools he can use, as well as the fact that he's just got a really good number one move. But at the same time, like, be better against the run, bro. That's what I'll say on him. Elijah Roberts, I don't care about. Again, I could completely honest with you guys, do not care what happens with him. But again, if he's a good backup, that'll be good for them. Vita Vea, still one of the best nose tackles, probably the best nose tackle in football. His pass rush production has gone through the roof since 2021. But yeah, his bull rush is among the best in football. He's one of the strongest players in the NFL, probably the strongest, to be honest, at this point. And yeah, he's also like a monster against the run. He's not even a nose tackle at this point. Like, it's not even funny. Greg Gaines, I've never liked him, but I've never been a big fan of him. Just because, again, when he was the Rams, he was kind of feeding off Aaron Donald, and then he went over to the Bucs past couple years, and he's just been not even close to the same production as a pass rusher. But he's still okay against the run, so you can work with that. But yeah, Greg Gaines isn't really that great. As a backup, phenomenal. But you don't want to be thinking he'll be the number one guy again if a guy like Clyde Kansky gets hurt and I don't know VFA, which is very unlikely, but it could happen. Clyde Kansky, yeah, he's freaking awesome. His, I don't know how to call it, like chop move, whatever you want to call it. It's freaking his bread and butter, and it works so well. Never going to be great against the run. We all know that. Last season, though, pressure rate was through the roof for an interior guy. His pressure volume was also great. The only issue I have is, can he be a little bit get better against the run to the point where they're going to actually have to respect him there, and then he can do what he wants. On the interior, as well as, again, him still developing a little bit more of a bull rush, because that's going to help him out a lot. CJ Brewer, don't care. Adam Gotsis could play. Mike Green, not great. Not the one you think that I like a lot. It's a different dude. But yeah, Clutch Kansky, like I said, very, very quick. Speed is the name of his game, but, like, be a little better. This D-line, though, is really freaking good. The pass rush is just pass rush galore. I'll give it a B+. You could argue it's in the A tier. I'm going to stay with the B+, though, because I don't love the depth. I might give it an A-, so, screw we are. A-. Yeah. That's going to be 6, 12, 18, 20 points for the D-line. All right. Linebackers before we get to the pass rush. All right. Anthony Walker Jr. is such a just not good player anymore. Last year with Miami after tearing his ACL. No, that was 2022. He wasn't really good with the Browns in 2023. 2024 with the Dolphins. I think he was their only low. Whatever. Back on track here. He was respectable enough with the Dolphins. I'm like, he could start. I'd be honest, probably stealing from him as an average level play from him. But honestly, I really don't care. Again, if you can give him at least that. It's better when KJ Britt gave him for a lot of last year. I still don't think KJ Britt was that bad, but he had his issues. Lavonte David, still the most underrated player in the NFL. He is just so good. Never been a top high-end coverage linebacker, but he's always been solid. Phenomenal playmaker. He's one of the best blitzers we've ever seen. I don't know what else to tell you guys. He's just so good. He's just put him in the Hall of Fame already. He's 35, still playing at it. I won't call him a super elite level, but very close to that. Deion Jones. Again, we talk about the athleticism he had. Again, he had that 1 year in 2016 with the, it's 2017. What am I talking about? With the Falcons, where he actually looked like a pretty freaking good player. But again, the instincts have always been questionable, and that's why he's kind of bounced around the league now. But again, as a depth piece, there's definitely worse guys to have on your roster. So Ryan Dennis, yeah, he's definitely a guy you could rely on at times. Really a solid run fitter, but that's probably about it, because anything else you have him do is just, he physically will not be up to par to be able to do. All right, linebacker, B+. That's high, but like Lavonte David needs some respect, so that's what we're doing. Not the pass rush. Yeah, there we go. No, I'm moving it to B because, like, guys, I'll go. That's Lavonte David's tier ranking is for that, not this. So yeah, B. And he played pretty close to an elite level. I don't call him max for that. And actually elite level. All right, pass rush for this team. Yaya Diaby. We'll start with him. He's an intriguing guy for sure because he's very explosive. His first step is pretty darn good, but like he really wasn't that great last year. I still think he had maybe a little bit more of a, in terms of like pressure rate to speed or whatever you want to call it, like time to pressure was probably a little higher in 2023, but last year he actually had more pressures, if I'm not mistaken. And on film, he did look a little bit more developed, but still don't see a lot to really think he'll be a proven guy. But still, I mean, as a guy off the edge, he'll be good. Hassan Reddick has a lot of proving to do. I think this sets up really well for the Bucs. But yeah, I don't know what the hell happened in 2024, but he kind of went off the rails. Even then, 2023 wasn't his elite self, but still really freaking good. Again, he's one of the most athletic players in the entire NFL. Let's see that. Let's see your speed to power. Let's see your bend. Let's see your whatever the heck that move is. Yeah, he'll be great. Again, I think this will be a big year for him. Anthony Nelson, very good depth guy. Very underappreciated because he's very smart, very responsible. Again, he's never going to be a guy you're going to really expect to be much of an actual contributor as pass rusher on a consistent basis. But again, the fact that he can do a lot of different things is going to keep him on this roster. Again, no, not even that. In the rotation. David Walker. This is a guy who's probably, if I'm being honest, probably a guy that I'd give more snaps over Yaya Diaby over anyone. Again, is he better than Yaya Diaby now? Absolutely not. But David Walker, guys, just that bull rush. Absolutely there. Chris Braswell. I was pretty confident that he'd be a decent player last year. Mixed bag. He contributed a little bit, but yeah, we know he has a lot of work to do before, and I don't even know if he'll actually get to his somewhat of a starting caliber spot. We'll see, though. This edge rushing group has a lot of guys proven. I like the potential a lot with it, but as we say with a lot of things, identity is for that. So the edge rushing group's pretty weak. I'm going to give them a B- at pass rush. That might be a little bit mean. I mean, again, if Hassan Reddick really goes off, as Yaya Diaby figures it out, Chris Braswell and Anthony Nelson contribute. I mean, Chris Braswell steps up. David Walker gets a legitimate role and keeps getting better. Not J-Ram, yeah. J-Ram and Lavonte David on the same team. They're like so underrated in their sports. But if David Walker really puts it on, this could be one of the best pass rushers in football. But right now, you got Hassan Reddick, who we don't even know what the hell he'll do. Yeah, in huge position to have a massive year and get a massive contract. Will that actually happen? Who knows? He's 30. Yaya Diaby, Chris Pratt, again, Anthony Nelson's really the only guy you're going to know what you're going to get out of. And for that reason, all that uncertainty, I'm keeping it at a B- despite all the potential. I just got to put that out there. 28 points, though, for that pass rush. Time for the secondary. Okay, secondary time. Starting off with cornerbacks, Jamel Dean's a tough guy to talk about because his statistics are never going to be, like, elite. I think they were pretty darn good in 2020. Again, when he got his first season starting. 2021 was probably his best season overall. Ever since, again, he really been put a lot on his shoulders, and there have been times, especially in man coverage, where he has not looked great. But again, considering how much is on his plate, and the fact that he still has done a pretty decent job to still being a pretty darn good player at times, I think you got to say he's really good. Like, it's just, again, he's got a lot, probably one of the most weighed-on corners in the entire league. Zion McCollum's not a guy that I'm too confident in watching. Last season, he still was decent enough in zone coverage to play him pretty decently. Strong tackler, but his man coverage ability and length are still lacking a lot. Tyke Smith, very solid contributor in the slot. Still not a guy that I'm like really thinking that'll be like some huge playmaker. There's still a ceiling for that though, because he was really freaking good at times last year. But again, I think it was more of like the solid like play than anything. Jacob Parrish, he again, I'm just so many times he got just completely roasted last year. I'm sorry. He's got really good instincts though. That can't help him. Not as good as Benjamin Morrison, who I really think will take over that number 2 corner spot. Just he's got to get healthy. Bryce Hall is a guy that could get on the field once in a while because he has played in the past, but he never really played that well. Again, at times, I guess he did like his last year, I think, with the Jets, he was decent. Josh Hayes is a guy that will give you some decent reps, but not a guy you want to see on the field too often. Again, you can play him, but not great. This cornerback room, I'm going to give a B- because I really think there's a lot of good going here. But that might be a little bit nice, to be honest with you. Again, the depth isn't awful, though. Kendall Vildor is a guy you've seen on the field in the past. It's not the worst. So that might be a little bit high, though, honestly. But again, I think Jamel Dean does deserve that. So we're going to say a B- for that group. That might be a little high, but I think I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. 6'12", 14 points. And then we look at the safety position with Antoine Winfield Jr. and Christian Eisen. Antoine Winfield Jr., nowhere close to how good he was in 2023. I really don't care, though. Again, he got injured, and again, I'm be honest, he's kind of crap. He's terrible in coverage at times. In 2024, again, the numbers were just so bad in a couple games. But outside of that, I mean, guys, like, he's still so good. So, yeah, don't expect much different from him. Christian Eisen really played well last year. His boundary positioning was much better than he was as a rookie. But we all know he's not the fastest guy in the world. He's not going to really be able to close down on plays, which does limit what he can do. But he's still a reliable player overall. Kayvon Merriweather, when he played last year, he played. That's all I'll say. He played. I don't really know what else he did, but he did play. Outside of that, Marcus Banks and whoever the rest of these guys can just screw off. And I'm not throwing shade at them, but like, don't think they're very good. Shiloh Sanders, yeah, he's here. He might not make the roster though, if we're gonna be in reality there. I don't know. B+. I'm gonna stick it at a B though, because Antoine Winfield again wasn't phenomenal last year at all, and Christian Eisen still isn't too great, but he was reliable. 24 points. You might think, how the hell is that it? I mean, if you remember, Ryan Neal was here, and he was so good in 2022. He's so bad in 2023. Anyway, yeah, I don't know what to really make of that. Anyway, let's get into the, overall grade. 24, 20, 28. Is that what we're saying? Yeah, there we go. 14, 24. 110 points. Really solid grade, which makes sense. They're pretty well-rounded there. What do I say, 110? That's going to be a B. B minus? Yeah, that makes sense. There's really no hole in this defense. It's just, their best players aren't, again, outside the D-line, really coming off their best seasons. Again, outside of the front seven, my bad. So we'll see how that works out. But again, a lot of potential with this defense as well. That's what pretty happy there. All right, Bucs fans, you better be pretty stoked because, this next section is going to be pretty good. All right, I said it's going to be pretty good, guys, but maybe not at the start. Chase McLaughlin, I don't know. He's a good kicker. I think we can say that at this point. Maybe the best kicker in football last year, if we're going to be honest. No, he wasn't. He was pretty close, though. Riley Dixon, just kind of a brutally boring and average punter. It's not a bad thing, but there's definitely better guys out there. Trey Tucker, Palmer, and Sean Tucker, don't care. Evan Deckers, also don't care. Special team unit overall, I mean, there's better groups. I'll probably give them a C. That might be a little bit harsh, but, they're not that great. Let's be honest there. There we go. C. No, we can give them a C+, but, Chase McLaughlin, do it again, and then we can move that up. All right, depth. Quarterback depth, C minus. I still think Kyle Trask is a solid back. That sounds great. Yeah, we're going to say D+. D+. Running back depth, B+. I don't really care. That's only your shot away. He's handled the whole season workload. I mean, that's pretty much good enough. You know what? Screw it. It's an A minus. A minus plus a D+. Would say that's a B minus. That's a little high, but I don't care. B minus, and we get the receiver A? Yeah, we're going to give that an A. A to B minus. What is that now? What do we say? A B? No, B plus. B plus for the depth so far. Tight end depth, I'd give a C. That's pretty nice. C minus. We're going to say we're gonna go down to a B minus. Yeah, B minus. At this point, O-line depth, I'd give a C. So we're going to probably say a B minus for this offensive depth. Defensively, what is their depth looking like? Their D-line, I'd probably give a C. We say a B minus here. A B minus. We say a C for their linebackers. Their linebacker depth, I'd give a C as well. No, we'll give it a C plus. So we're probably still at a C. Edge rusher depth, I'd give a B, which you can definitely bump us up to a B minus. Corner depth, again, pretty young, but it's still really solid. There's a lot of talent there, so I'd say that's a B as well. So we're probably at a B minus. Safety depth is probably a C, so down to a C plus. I'm gonna say a C and B minus for this Bucs depth. There's no position that I'm really concerned about too much with depth. I mean, Payne Durham starting at tight end's a little bit terrifying, but outside of that, it's pretty good. Devin Cope will figure it out. I don't know. 12, 24, 28 points for their depth. That's not right at all. 28 points. Yeah. We can't find the 8. There we go. Identity. Bucs offense. Again, we haven't talked about Todd Bowles yet, but I don't really think he's that great of a coach. I think he's gotten lucky in the division he's in. He's not the greatest coach. But still, offensively, they should be really solid. Baker don't turn over the football because they could lead to problems. And Bucky don't get injured, so we don't see Rashad White. I'm joking. This offense should be really freaking good this year. I'm going to still put it probably at a B plus for their offensive identity, though, because I think there will be times where they don't play the greatest. Defensively, so much potential. Again, with a still really solid group. For that reason, I'm like, this could be great, but at the same time, it's like the potential's there, but is it actually going to happen? I think it's a little bit less likely. So I'm going to say a B for that. But guys, Bucs fans, you got to be in a really good position. I think, again, Todd Bowles being your head coach isn't the greatest thing in the world. That's probably the only thing really holding you guys back. Pretty darn solid roster, though. 40 points on the identity right there. And, let's see what this overall roster grade, blows out to be. And after doing the math, we get to 323 points for the Bucs roster grade, and then a points total. That's going to put them in the B plus tier, which is probably where they belong. I mean, you could put them in the A tier if you really felt like it, but I don't really know if they're quite there just yet. Biggest issue with them is I don't think they have again, it's really just head coach. That's their biggest weakness overall. I don't know. Their special teams unit could be better. Also, there's some positions that again just could have had that extra guy. And like I said, this defense, if they do fulfill their potential and they somehow keep these guys together, they're going to be pretty freaking good next year. But Bucs fans, you got to be stoked. It's probably your best roster since probably going into 2022. No, probably going into 2021 to be honest with you guys. But so best roster in Super Bowl season. Maybe get the NFC Championship. Probably not. But I'd be pretty surprised if they don't win the division. That's all I'll say there. B plus 223 there. And I don't know. Give the Saints something to think about. This is the best I can do.